Morning America, good afternoon from Germany. A new month, a new week. It is April 3rd and we have Eastern at the end of the week. So let's prepare for this short trading week because Friday will be a holiday. Today we will have ISM manufacturing index. So let's see the news for today. ISM manufacturing PMI is in about 34 minutes. In 5 minutes the market will be open. Tomorrow we will have Joel's job openings. On Wednesday ISM non-manufacturing PMI and ADP non-farm employment change. This one will be important, of course. We are still looking at the job market as well as the Federal Reserve is. Initial jobless claims on Thursday. I will not be live streaming Thursday because I will be on holiday with my family. And that's it, a short week. Friday is holiday, we have non-farm payrolls and an unemployment rate, but the market is closed as you can see here. So you can trade the futures, but the stock market will be closed. Let's see the news from tonight. The OPEC cut the output of crude oil by 1 million barrels per day. This was not expected and therefore the crude oil prices rushed through the roof. As you can see, we went higher by 5.7% and hit the previous highs, as you can see here. $81.69 was a day's high and we are at about $80 right now. So a big open gap here, and this of course caused the stock markets to drop. There's higher fear of inflation again, but the big problem for the central banks is they are not able to set higher interest rates to bring down this kind of inflation because it's a commodity inflation and they cannot affect the commodity prices with their interest rates, but they can cool down the economy and therefore cause less demand for crude oil. And you see the expectations shifted a little bit back to the 25 basis points for the next Federal Reserve meeting in about 30 days. Still 42% for no change and 58% for a 25 basis points move. And here the probabilities. So you see the new high point 5.25% on the next meeting, then sitting there for another meeting, then see lower interest rates and end the year at 4.5%. So a little bit to the upside with the interest rate expectations here. And as you can hear, I am still not on top of my healthiness, but it's a lot better than the previous week. I hope it will be fine in the next 2 days before I'm on holiday. Let's see Nasdaq. So market is open in about 2 minutes and we are trading lower than the closing on Friday. Closing on Friday was here. So we are lower by 0.7% right now. Low point was here 1 hour ago, 13,179 points. So there's more room to the downside. Maybe to retest the previous high point here at 13,075 points. There's a lot of room to the downside today here with these bad news from the crude oil market. But of course we can also retest the previous highs at 13,300 points. As you can see, it's still bullish here because we had the breakout to the upper side here and this big push on Friday. Today a small red candle. Let's see where the market wants to push us. We have room to retest the 9 EMA right below the 13,000 area. So I would expect the market to retest minimum 13,080, maybe even the 13,000 level here because the previous high points were sitting here. So this could be a potential retest of this psychological level. And if we cannot hold this level, maybe on a second or third attempt, then lower levels here back to the 20 EMA line, 12,750 points. The parabolic is still positive here, as well as the ADX is showing a bullish trend here. The same for ES future. S&P 500 is bullish. As you can see, we broke out of this triangular here and had the big push to the upside. So we are far away from the 9 EMA and 20 EMA. So there's also here a lot of room to retest the 9 EMA 1.6% and 2.3% to retest the 20-day EMA. Yeah, then let's go with natural gas. Natural gas was the opposite than the crude oil, so it went down pre-market. We retested the $2 level. This was what I was waiting for, 2.01 today, the lows, and we are higher, trading higher right now, but still 4% lower than the closing on Friday. So this was again a big push down, about 9% from closing on Friday to the lows of today, and we are trying to push higher right now. Let's see if we can get back to the closings of Friday. But yeah, finally this $2 level should hold. If not, then we will see more sell-off here. But yeah, it's a long time now for natural gas prices to pull back. So therefore we should find a bottom now here at the psychological $2 level. Wix is still a bit low 20, but a little bit higher than on Friday, of course. But the high point was 19.8, and we are at 19.55 right now. So no big fear in the market. But we will have bank earnings soon next week, so it will be interesting to see if the sector is still stable. And it's a big chunk of the whole market, because I think it was 18% that bank stocks are making as weighting in S&P 500. So it will be important how the earnings will be for the banks. Let's see other commodities. I still have a position here in orange juice, so it's trading sideways today. Let's see if we can finally see that this was the high point and that it's pulling lower here. And sugar, no position here, waiting for a re-entry of a short. So it's looking better today with this candle here, but it hasn't closed yet. So we still have to wait if this was a high point here, and we could see a potential retest of the breakout level here at 21.30. Then, yeah, what else do we have interesting? Yeah, gold. Gold is still trading sideways. We already had the breakout of this triangular here, but it's just trading sideways. We tested the lows today at $1,965.90, but went all the way back here. And yeah, this could be a nice candle if we close where we had the high point here. This would be a nice hammer candle. So let's see if it closes there, then this could be more upside potential. Back to Nasdaq, market is open, so let's see where the market participants want to see the prices. So we are pushing back above moving averages and above VWAP right now. But like always, the first 15 to 20 minutes, the market tries both directions, and we have to wait for the market to find its final direction. So the psychological 13,200 level is holding right now. Dip buyers are stepping in, retesting previous highs, but still below Friday closings. There's a lot of pushing here. Could be interesting if you want to short as an intraday short here at these pre-market highs. So we reach these pre-market highs. These could act as a resistance, but of course we have higher high points here from the right after the opening of the European market here. So still some more room to the upside here. And this was the high point during the Asian session, 13,261 points or 65 points. Seems to be bullish. Dip buyers are buying in heavy, but we often see a false direction in the first 5 or 10 minutes. So for the economic news in about 25 minutes, we have an expectation of 49.3. The previous number was 47.3. So let's see if it is lower than expected. It's still below the 50 average, but it went higher in the previous meetings. So it was a lot higher, often higher than expected. but we haven't seen the 50 back since last November. So it's still not really bullish from the manufacturing side here. Price indicator can also be interesting today in terms of inflation risks. So the previous 2 times it was higher than expected. Let's see if this time will also be higher than the forecast of 51.2. Let's see some interesting stocks. Still Tesla on my watch list. We pulled above 200 on Friday. 207.79 was the high point, and today we are lower. Had the lows at 199, but are trading above 200 right now. So let's see if Tesla will retest the previous highs here at $214.66, or no, $217.65, or if we will pull back right away here when the market is dipping further. Wheat. We haven't talked about wheat. I still have a long position here in wheat. So wheat went down on Friday, had lows here of 681 cents, but then closed at the opening price, made a nice doji, which indicated a reversal here to the upside. So we are pulling higher today, but still below the previous highs, where we were rejected and couldn't make the breakthrough here from previous Wednesday. So I'm still waiting for the final break, for the closing above this last, what was the high point, 712 cents level. Then it will be more interesting. We will probably see potential back to 730 and maybe even 750 cents here, where the previous a previous low point was sitting here, and it's a Fibonacci level and a nice round psychological level. So 750 could be interesting. There I would probably sell a part of my long calls, and my short put should already be closed because it's 74% in the green, my 585 short put strike. The call is currently 70 or 75% in the green, but I think there's more potential here. It already was, I think it was 110% in the green here on Wednesday. But yeah, I'm still holding this position because I believe there's more potential to the upside for wheat prices. Yeah, my trade here in soybean meal could be was closed on Friday. You see, we reached my target. This was a previous low point and a 50% Fibonacci retracement. So I closed here at 465.90. So we had higher levels at 469, but I closed my future position, so I have no more position here in soybean meal futures. But this was a nice trade. I opened it here and I closed it here. So it was a 1 week trade, and I opened it here, so and I closed it here. So this was about a 6.4% move in just one trading week. So pretty nice, and yeah, pretty happy that I catched it this well. It's not often that I can catch it at the at almost the low points and just close it after 1 week of trading. This was a pretty nice trade here. So I'm waiting, but it can be interesting to change direction right to the downside again, because we had these previous low points here, so it should be a bigger resistance here. And the commercials are still on the short side here for soybean meal. Back to Nasdaq. Dip buyers are still at work here, but we didn't reach the high point from the Asian session, but here from the European session. So let's see these high points here. So you see, this was a nice high point, and it was a high point again. So let's see if we can pull higher. If yes, then next target is the high point during the Asian session here, 13,265. And if we reject here, then the next target should be VWAP. VWAP is sitting here. at 13,216. This should be our target to the downside if we break below 9 EMA. Let's see this on a higher time frame, like 5 minutes. So here I would wait for the first red candle. This one is closing right now, or was closing. Yeah, it already closed. So we still had 2 green candles, and now we are forming a new 5-minute candle here. We have to wait 5 more minutes to see this one closing, but you clearly see this is a previous high point acting as a resistance here. 20 minutes until we see the news. Let's talk about Nvidia. Nvidia is now near our previous target here. As you can see, this was a previous high point. And I would, if I draw from here to here, so we are above this previous Fibonacci level, and we have a resistance zone right here at 278 and the high point 289. So we are right at the lower band of the resistance, so probably we will push back into this resistance area and then maybe find a resistance at 285, 286. We don't know where it will be, but it will be within this area. So I would prepare to short here. So I want to be in a short trade, but not shorting the stock, but going long on a put, so buying a put, because the implied volatility is low, so I'm not overpaying here in terms of implied volatility. And this could be an interesting long trade. I talked about this in my German stream on previous Thursday here for my clients. And yeah, I will take on this trade as soon as I see some resistance here and maybe a change of direction to the downside again. But I will be patient and wait for this $284-85, I would say. So in between the low and the high point of this resistance area to enter my trade here, and then buying maybe a 230 strike put to profit from a downfall of Nvidia, because I believe that we can see minimum 220 here, the previous low point, as you can see, and maybe even 200, which would be a 50% retracement. If the stock market is pulling back a little bit more, then Nvidia will also pull back, because this is a big rally. So from the beginning of this year, you see here, this was the closing of last year. We are up about 88% right now. And from the lows last October, this stock is up 155%. So it would be just normal to see a smaller correction. If you look here from the previous high to the previous low, this was a 26% correction, so it would be normal to see a little bit of correction here as well. So 26% would be, yeah, like to the previous lows here, so near the 200 level. Therefore I would aim to $220 as a first level and $200 as a second target. Back to Nasdaq. Rejected from here, so interesting candle now, 2 minutes to close this 5-minute candle. But as we talked about here, should be some more support right at VWAP and 20 EMA near the previous high points. Let's see first Citizen Bank. I still have an open short call in this bank here. Almost unchanged today. Implied volatility a little bit higher again. That's not what I want to see, because I'm in a short position. So I want implied volatility to drop. We are near the psychological 1000 now, but there's still some more room to the downside here to touch the 25%. Just reject this call here. and yeah, maybe close some of this big gap here. I will wait and stay in this position. I'm already in the green 40-50%, depending on the strike I have. I have different strikes. 1040 is the lowest, 1160 is the highest strike short I have. So yeah, just waiting for implied volatility to drop and time going by to collect my 80% profit from these trades here. And here we are back at 9 EMA. Let's see. He doesn't want to give up. Let's retest these lows here at VWAP. And then see the final direction in 15 minutes when the news are out for ISM manufacturing PMI. So if we're looking at the bigger picture on a weekly time frame, I will just move out all these lines here. So then we see we broke above the previous high points and are forming higher lows and maybe higher highs, depending on where we close this week. Maybe this was just a false breakout in the previous week, but it was pretty strong. As you can see, this is a strong candle here. So there should be more room to the upside to retest the previous highs from August. This was 14,100 on a weekly time frame, or maybe just the high points here from previous September, 13,240. This was already reached on Friday because we had highs at 13,311. So let's see if this is the final high point here to go back to retest the 9 EMA and 20 EMA, or if we have more room to get back here to the August levels. You see parabolic is still positive here on a weekly time frame, and yeah, ADX also showing that it's in a positive trend, but it's not a too strong trend because the red line is still right at the 20 level, and we need higher levels to see more strength in this uptrend here for Nasdaq. Okay, then crude oil is also interesting, because I think we will probably close part of this gap here, but not right away. So it will take some time, because this was a pretty bullish news from the market here. And here we see the previous high point was here at $83. So we still have a little bit of room to the upside from the high points of today, 1.5%. From the current price level, still 3% upside potential. But of course, this is a first area where we see a little bit of resistance, because this was a high point 2 times. So it's acting as a resistance. And then when we can settle above, then we have more potential to push back into this resistance zone here. And else we will close partially this big up gap here we made from Friday closing to opening today, or to the lows from today. Dip buyers buying in more. 10 minutes until the news. Let's see if we close this gap. There's still an open gap from tonight. So here you see this open gap from the closing on Friday. Closing was at 13,308 points. And the high point tonight was 13,275 points. So there's about a 30 points open gap here. This could potentially be closed on the news. And then we should see a rejection from the highest here of Friday, right at 13,300, 13,308, or 11 was the high point on Friday. It will be interesting to see how the news will come out and what the market will do with the news. didn't talk about euro US dollar. So let's see. Foreign currency, still sideways trading. We had some difficulties on Friday to push above these previous high points here from March 22nd, and then we went back right to the lower level of Fibonacci here, 38.2%, closed there. So it was a red day for euro US dollar, a strong day for the US dollar, a weak day for euro. Normally this should act as a negative sign for the stock market, and yes, it was a negative sign. As we have seen, stock market went lower today, and yeah, we were pulling back further here on euro USD, made lows of 1.078, but now we are pushing higher again, as you can see. So it's sideways trading, it's still an inbound candle here, and we are waiting for the final breakout above the previous high points here. Then we should see more upside potential back to the 1.10 area, or if we close below, then more potential to the downside. Next target 1.077 here. Just wait for the breakout before you take any position. It's still in an uptrend. As you can see, we made higher lows, and we are trying to push above to make a higher high now. But yeah, not yet. Still sideways trading. Nasdaq pulling back again. Just the normal up and downs. So this was about the high point during the Asian session here. This is the next resistance, and then if we go through, then we should partially close this open gap here. 8 minutes until we see the news. See natural gas on a 5-minute time frame. So we had the big breakout here, and we are now trying to close this open gap. Or is it already closed? Oh, almost closed. Yes, almost closed. Just a small, tiny small area here left for closing the whole gap, but it's almost closed. High point was $2.16 today. And the low was right at the opening. When crude oil prices went through the roof, the natural gas prices went down to lows of 2.015. So I hope this was the low point now, the final low point, and that we can see higher levels from now on. So I was asked if I believe in $5. I said no way. I don't think that we will go there back there this year. And $4, I said no, I don't believe we will go back there. $3.50, maybe we could see $3.50, of course, but I would aim for $3, not for $3.50 or $4. Of course, this could be again, but just because we have seen $10 in the previous year doesn't mean that we have to see $4 or $5 again this year, because this is not the normal area where natural gas prices are moving. So if we go on Finwiz, not Fiverr, but Finwiz, and I will show you a long-term chart of natural gas. Natural gas. Where's my natural gas chart? Here, natural gas. Oh, sorry. Come on, natural gas. Here, natural gas. And we can look at the weekly time frame first. So here you see the $10 was the high point in the previous August. Then we went lower. Had this interesting shoulder head shoulder, so it was a shoulder here, a head here, second shoulder even lower, and this was about the neckline. So it's not a perfect neckline here, but you see as soon as we went through the previous lows, there was a big sell-off here until we saw the lows, and then in just 2 weeks we spiked back to $3.15, and then we saw even more sell-off now back to the $2 level. But if we go back further in time to the monthly chart, then you see that our normal area for more than 10 years was just here right below the $2 level, So we are near the low points now. So the low point was 150, 160, something like this. This was the historic low, and the historic high point for the previous 10 years. Yes, we had some high points here back in 2014 and 2018, but the normal area is just between $4 and $2. So this is the normal trading range, what I would say. Yes, there was a big upside here back in 2008 before the financial crisis. So there we had the all-time highs as well. And crude oil was, I think it was $148 per barrel, like something like this. And there was also the high point in natural gas prices, but then you see the steep drop here. And yeah, then we were sideways trading for about 10 years. And we are near these important lows now. Of course, we can still go lower. $1.50, $1.60 as potential lowest low, but I don't believe that we will test these levels right away in the midst of this crisis with Russia. So let's see if I'm wrong, but this would surprise me. So I believe that we will settle somewhere between $2 and $3. This would be, yeah, high probability, I would say. Why isn't US natural gas output keeps rising as prices sink? Why? Yeah, that's interesting, but the explanation is the same like for crude oil, because you cannot stop. One time you open the source, you cannot stop it, because if you close the source, then you probably cannot reopen it. So then it's closed forever. And that's the reason why the Russians, they put fire on their natural gas sources, because they were not able to store it or to sell it, and therefore they had to burn it. Yeah, that's that's a big pollution of the air, of course, but they don't care about this like the Europeans do. It would have been better to buy it cheaper for the Europeans than letting the Russians burn it. But that's how it went. And the same thing back in 2020. So the natural gas prices didn't go below zero, but the crude oil prices did. Why? Why is someone selling crude oil for negative price? Yeah, because they were not able to store it, and because the storage prices went through the roof, because no one needed crude oil during the COVID lockdowns. As you can see here, we went to lows. Here we see $7, but the low point from the May contract was at the end of April was minus $36 at the settlement, so it was negative. I know because I traded it. And yeah, this can happen because no storage space is available, and because you cannot just close the source and say, okay, I will just stop pumping and then re-begin in a few weeks or months. This is not possible for most of the sources, and therefore they are still pumping, even if the prices are dropping and going negative, because they think, okay, it's better to have negative prices for 1 or 2 weeks, but we are expecting higher prices at the end of the year. And this is what happened. You see, we had high points at the beginning of the war here at $130. So it was a big rally from the lows, from negative prices here for crude oil. So it was right not to stop pumping, because they would have probably lost their crude oil sources. And therefore, it's sometimes better to even pump for lower prices and negative prices, even if you cannot cover your payments you have to do in terms of interest. Yeah, this is why most of the sources are shut down, because the companies are not able to pay their interest payments and their down payments, and therefore they have just to shut down the whole service, or they are sold to another company. But this is the main reason why crude oil sources are closed. Yeah, because it's really difficult to reopen it, especially if it's underwater. So this is really difficult, and one of the reasons why we had this big mess with the oil in the Mexican Bay area, because they didn't want to close the source, and therefore a lot of crude oil came out when there was the explosion with the platform. Yeah, this is really bad, but it's a really good movie. So if I don't know the title of this movie, but I really like this movie. Yeah, really good. I have to Google it again for you, or if someone knows the title of the explosion of this crude oil platform in the Mexican Bay Area, then let me know in the chat. It's a really good movie. You should watch it. yeah, it's based on historic facts. Okay, back to the market. It's 4 p.m. my time, so we have now news out here. So almost miss it by telling here the stories. So we were rejected by the pre-market high points, went back to VWAP, and are now going higher and lower. So let's see, the news are lower than expected, 49.2, 46.3 for ISM manufacturing PMI. So this should be good for the market, not too high inflation expectation here, but it's still near the expectation, not too low. So if we see too low numbers, then the market is fearing a recession. If the number is too high, then the market is fearing inflation. So there are always fears. The best is to come in line or near in line. So it's still bullish here in terms of this number. But of course the market can rally, can close the gap and then turn to the downside. Therefore I would never trade the news, just trade direction. We use the news to trade with volume, because here you see now volume is coming back into the market with the news, and therefore all the movements have more significance, and I would just trade significant moves like the rejection here from the VWAP. But if the market doesn't want to, then it can turn below and can change direction and change to a downtrend again. So therefore always wait for a clear direction before you take a trade. We'll watch it 3 or 4 more minutes and then I will close this live stream and let you trade on your own and see who called me. Crude oil at 80.50. Natural gas at 211. And Euro USD almost at the high points, almost at 109. Tesla below 200, so against the market, 4.5% red today. Interesting. They had good numbers from Europe, I think. Good delivery numbers, but lower, still lower than expected. Nvidia near the high points. Gold price is pulling back above 2000, so this is interesting. So if we close in this area here near the 2000 level, I'm bullish for the next days. But of course, when the stock market are pulling back more and pull back 10-20%, then probably gold will also pull lower. But with higher interest rate expectations from the higher crude oil prices, this should be bullish for gold. And rising again, so probably closing this open gap here, or partially close it, like with natural gas. Still some room. I will wait for the close of this open gap and watch if we see some more downside potential here, a turn in direction to take on a short trade. So it's an interesting level to short at the 13,300, but it was really strong on Friday and it is still strong even on the bad news from the crude oil market. It's not a too bullish surrounding, even if the VIX is below 20. I wouldn't say it's everything is sunshine right now. So I wouldn't be too fearless here and to always be cautious when you enter trades. Just enter small trades because the changes can happen pretty fast here. So this was an interesting candle with a huge wick on the downside, but the bulls were able to fight back above VWAP, so it's bullish here. But parabolic is already changing to the downside. Let's see if we can go above resistance. or if movements will slow down. Still sideways trading, but of course bullish here, making higher lows and higher highs. Let's see ES future one last time. Near the highs, 4,152. So ES future is higher than the highs on Friday. So you see there the gap is already closed. So what do we see from here? The small stocks are rallying today, because in ES future we have 500 stocks in S&P 500, and the smaller ones are a little bit more represented than in Nasdaq, where we only have 100 large technology stocks. And therefore, when we see Nasdaq is struggling and is not above its Friday highs, but ES is above the Friday highs, then we know the smaller stocks are performing well today. Okay, I think it's not too interesting to watch this chart moving here right now. I will let you trade on your own, and we will meet the next time for economic news, probably tomorrow on Joel's job openings. So tomorrow for the stock market open, I will try to live stream again. Wish you a nice trading day. Thank you for watching. And if you had some fun and some nice insights, then please give me a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so far. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.